man.
Good morning, everybody, and we are here today, just five brothers sitting around like we at the barber shop, and just to discuss some of the issues that have been close on our minds and in our communities, and not just for the recent issue that happened with the young man in Memphis, but just overall, and how we as a community and as a people can start to take some steps to move forward in our thinking, in our mindsets, and in all that we do in working with our young children and everything. That being said, I'm going to let these brothers around the table go ahead and introduce themselves.
Michael Kraft.
Mike B.
I'm Dwight Harvey.
Darris, Hinson.
Brother Keon.
That being said, brothers, just briefly, just in about 3 or 4 words, tell me, how are you feeling right now, today, in this moment? How are you feeling?
Well, it's Black History Month, so I'm always excited when Black History Month comes. It's Black History Day every day, really, but I'm excited as well as troubled. At 57 years old, I never dreamed that some of the things that we learned about in the 50s and 60s are still happening in 2023. So I have a sense of excitement, but I also have a sense of despair for our young people because I'm a father and I'm worried about my kids. When they get to be 57, what are they going to be dealing with?
Right. Like B.
I don't know. I feel in this current moment. I feel supported, man. I got my brothers here, man, and we about to, have this conversation. But I think overall, other people, it's for me, work never stops. So until I can see, a full liberation, for my people, I'm always keep working. So, I know that there's situations that we're dealing with or whatever, but I feel encouraged, man, because I accept the challenge. I accept the challenge. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna keep fighting. I got my soldiers with me, so it's good. So in this current moment, I feel supported, but then at the same time, I know that we got some work to do. So.
And me personally, I'm feeling encouraged too. I've just feel like I've recently been reborn into this community again, and I can see the network that I truly have within this community. After being here for 20 years from San Diego, and I'm encouraged about what in my 60s, what is that going to bring, and what are the things that I will be able to do that make me feel good about just what's happening with our young kids and our families.
I feel the sentiments of everybody at the table, but in what I'm dealing with internally, I'm very disappointed. I feel like we participated unwillingly and willingly in a public lynching, in a picnic. You understand the historical value of that. And we participated with our enemies, our families and friends, and our oppressors. And because we don't own media, because we don't have control over our narrative and our message, we did it unwillingly and unknowingly. And that's the most difficult part for me, because I know we know better, but we can't do better unless we get control of these institutions that put our narrative out there.
And I guess I'll echo, as I was thinking about my own answer, how do I feel in this moment? But it's funny because I see that we all feel similar in more ways than one. And I'm speaking to the duality, right? I'm feeling supported, but knowing what we're still up against. Like in this very moment, I'm here. We glad we sitting here talking about this together. I do feel supported. I feel seen. I feel heard. 40 minutes ago on the freeway, I just got called an effing nigger by a cracker. You dig?
Right.
The duality of that, and overall existence. As it pertains to us, my honest feelings. Sometimes I feel hopeful. Sometimes I feel hopeless. It's that. I have a saying. I believe we can, but I don't know if we will.
Right.
And I hate, I hate that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
I appreciate, all those true and honest thoughts coming from each of us here at this table. One of the things that bring us here today is the senseless situation that happened in Memphis with the young brother Tyre Nichols. And I know a lot of us have had a lot of time to think about that and to formulate our thoughts and everything. So just tell me, what are your thoughts on that situation? Just, what happened? What are your immediate thoughts when you come to think about it?
It's a bad look. It's us under the microscope of how we deal with each other.
Mhm.
Bad job, bad job. When I first saw it, I was like, I just look like some cold nigga shit. It just looked like something. I've seen it before. I've seen it over and over and over and over and over again. The manner in which they was dealing with him, especially talking to him, right? That was very telling. The language.
Right.
The language. And I was like, yeah, I've seen this before. And it wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look. It never is, but it wasn't a good look.
What are your thoughts?
For me, it was very triggering in how it was given to us as a people. The institution of policing continues to go unchecked. And so it's recurring. It's just this time the cops look like us. But in our communities, we've never seen Black people in law enforcement as a part of our struggle, because you have to give something to become a part of that institution. And we know this for those people who have had to deal with law enforcement. It never mattered to us what color the person is in that uniform. It's the institution of policing in our community that has always been our challenge, especially for Black men in America. And then I always look at things from a media standpoint. So, because that's just my background. And so this is the first time in the modern era where we had a public lynching, where we had commercials leading up to it. The foreshadowing, showing the brother on his skateboard at a skate park here in Sacramento, actually. The foreshadowing of what we could expect to see and how horrendous that it was, the spectacle of the whole thing. Then the commentary of showing the DA in Memphis breaking down crying as he's watching it, and then having Don Lemon ask him questions about how he was feeling, and interviewing the police chief and how she's feeling. Like, there was this whole, it was almost like a Super Bowl event, or like an athletic show, or like a gladiator event. Like, and this whole thing was played out on national television, on all social media platforms. You can pull up that information on YouTube right now, and you can see it like it just happened yesterday. So it's going to live in our consciousness forever. And it's produced and packaged in a way that lives with us forever. And we participated in that. And we had advertising dollars associated with it. There are companies who bought 30-second spots to fund that. And what does that all do for us as a people and as a community? And what does that look like to kids and to elders and to people who don't look like us, to see this production of Black on Black violence?
It makes us a commodity.
It makes us a commodity. And so like they've done with every piece of our culture, they profited off of our pain, every piece of our culture. So now we are selling our violence to the world. And because we don't own institutions that tell our narrative, that speak our narrative, like TV, like radio, even social media platforms, because we don't own these things, we don't have the power to show our people and educate our people on what that is and why it's detrimental to us. So that's kind of how I've been viewing the whole thing.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, so it's just to kind of piggyback on what Brother Hinson was saying is the Black misery, oppression, murder, killing has always been a public spectacle in the United States of America. Lynchings have always been advertised and things of that nature, right? And that's what we get. You even take modern day Black music and media, right? It doesn't show us in a good light, right?
It's lynch.
You look at drill rap. You look at the stuff that the kids are doing. It's a soundtrack, right, for mass incarceration. So they'll allow those types of things and those types of images to be, kind of put out about us. It was insane to me. I'm be honest with you. I couldn't believe that national news outlets were playing this video. You're not going to see videos of Ukrainians killing Russians on CNN. They're not going to play that. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to see.
You're not going to see
Jews
killing Palestinians.
You're not going to see that. They're not going to play that. But what they'll do for African Americans, for Blacks, is they'll play that stuff, right? YouTube, and in my personal opinion, they all have a responsibility, right, to vet out what they're going to play on their like my brother said, there's commercials. Somebody made money off of this.
I dare say I couldn't wait to play that.
Yeah,
Because normally when they playing it, they want to hold back. Well, it's going to be bad. It's it's white cops on black cops. This one is like, ooh, well, this time it's black cops. I feel like they couldn't wait to play.
They couldn't wait.
They couldn't wait.
And over and over.
You're right. And that's my take on it because, in full transparency, I have background. I'm in law, second generation law enforcement, and so when I saw it, it was something that that I had seen before. But you go back to Eric Garner, go back to George Floyd, go back to that brother that got shot in Charleston, and they played that. We saw that, but the narrative was different because never did you hear the whole time in George Floyd or in Eric Garner did you call it savagery. Right. They called these brothers savages over and over. I listened to it. They were the savage beating. The narrative was of what it was would bother me. It bothered me to see these brothers got caught up in the whole the ridiculousness of what goes on in policing. They bought into the whole thing, but the thing that was so bad for me is to see America breathe a sigh of relief, like, and I got phone calls and text messages. It wasn't white people this time. It wasn't. So was that a relief? Is that a relief? Just like when we see things happen.
Let me just add in there, brother. There was a white man in there.
Yeah, there was a white man in there.
They purposely left him out. He was right there with
he
the
got
taser.
fired.
He was the first person
He
to
helped
take.
set it
He
off.
got fired yesterday.
They just started dealing with him yesterday.
Yeah.
So
But
they had to deal with us first.
But what
I
I'm saying,
apologize.
No. But what I'm saying is the imagery that they put forth, and it's media, so you can do anything. You can, skew anything the way you want to. The thing that bothered me the most was the whole narrative of the savagery, that we were savages and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a cold piece what we watched, ridiculous. And having been in situations where, my thing was, where was that voice of reason? Where was that one person, white, black, purple, whatever, the one voice of reason that said, hey, this man, obviously, this man is brutally injured. Where was someone coming in to say, hey, and then when you got people there who are emergency responders, they didn't render aid. They didn't render aid.
Well, I think what happens is that institutions that look to oppress Black people, they never have a voice of reason.
I was waiting.
So they don't have a voice of reason. Whether it's in law enforcement, whether it's in medicine, whether it's in they did experiments on us. There's no voice of reason when it's telling us.
I agree, but I'm talking about I'm just talking about brothers. When we talk about we talk about you know, we talk about brothers here, and that's where I'm saying they stripped themselves of the whole thing and bought into the ridiculousness
True.
of what's
the
going
blue
on
line.
in policing. And yeah,
And
and then here's another cold piece too, coming from law enforcement. Where was the blue line? Where was the blue line in defending these brothers? Where was the union? Nobody stepped up to say this is the blue line. We didn't suspend these brothers with pay pending investigation.
It was
we
on code,
immediately
blue line.
we immediately fired these brothers.
Yeah.
You know, we immediately fired them. You know, and I'm not saying it wasn't warranted,
Right.
but I'm just saying where was the blue line there? So there's a whole lot of dynamics in this whole thing.
Yeah.
That
But you know,
I would also say, just, I was trying to look up the brother's name, but remember, just 2 weeks before this happened, down in Southern California, you had a brother who was an English teacher, an educator, tased to death.
I've seen that.
Tased to death.
Yes.
That never got
Yes.
any
Yes.
response. This brother was, I'm talking about, he says it in the video, they're trying to George Floyd me.
Yeah.
He yells out to his mother like we always do in those moments. And these are 5 Latino and white officers that tased this brother to death, put 600 volts in him multiple times and held it by his heart, his back. He died on camera. He didn't die at the hospital, he died on camera. You guys don't know anything about it because it didn't get the same kind of coverage. Because it didn't look the same.
Exactly.
right. Narrative. It's just narrative.
I got to get his name, so I want to make sure I say his name.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what happens is that, you know,
Keon.
you know, policing just as a whole, you know, it's always, in my opinion, been it's created to protect the interests of rich white men. So, you know, and we got to remember, so it's an institution that we have to talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my pops told me, he said, you got to remember, son, some of the slave catchers was black.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he told me, he said, everybody didn't want to leave the plantation.
Right.
Everybody
Right.
didn't want to be free. And so I think law enforcement, a lot of times, in a lot of instances, they look to kind of promote, you know, people who might look like you, who have that mindset, right? Who have that, and you know, in watching that video, not to be, you know, it looked like almost a gang initiation, right? They were beating and then picking him up and then putting him down. So I think, you know,
Calling him bruh.
calling him bruh, I just couldn't.
And how do you say bruh?
Yeah.
I mean,
As you
come
do
on,
that.
bruh.
As
And
you do that.
it just couldn't. I couldn't. I only watched it because, again,
Because you know they
like,
wanted to
to
say
your point, I think that a part of the problem was, for me, is I was like, we should boycott the viewing. Like, you know what I'm saying? The people, like, that's not why, you know what I'm saying?
I had to watch it.
I did too.
And
I did too.
I agree.
I did too. I
I
had
had
to
to
watch.
watch
I thought about the boycott part of it too.
I did
Right.
too.
The young man's name that I was talking about is Keenan Anderson.
Keenan Anderson.
Keenan Anderson,
Right.
killed by LAPD just 2 weeks prior to this happening, in the most savage fashion. And he died on the camera, begging for his life.
Can I switch I like the way this is going, but I want to kind of switch to another topic that I think has been so pervasive as a result of when you look at this. You're talking about 5 black police officers doing this to a black man. And a lot of people have focused in on just that. Black people doing something to black people. And I just want to get our opinions on how do we feel about that piece of it, that these officers were black.
Let's look at 2022.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best movies that I saw in 2022 was The Woman King.
Yes.
That was a powerful movie. We knew about the making of The Woman King long before it came out. What we didn't know is that piece that they dropped in there about the Ogoje tribe being slave catchers, right? They made sure that just a couple of weeks before it came out, they started that narrative. And then that began to change our minds because the way that it was presented to us in media was presented to us a certain way. We've always been given that narrative that there were black people who helped in catching slaves and who participated in the slave trade, and there's always this narrative that we participated in our own destruction, and that's in some ways why we're in the situation that we're in. None of that shit was pervasive. By comparison to what we experienced from these colonizers, what we experienced at the hands of white supremacy, what we've experienced not only in this country, but in Africa and around the world, none of that shit is pervasive in comparison. So I understand why people bring it up, because we don't ever share the sheer numbers of how we suffered at the hands of white supremacy, colonization, and the whole thing. Because if we looked at it from a data standpoint, it's not pervasive.
It's not, but you have to take, but it holds weight.
It only holds weight.
The outside cannot come inside without the infiltrator. Like there
No,
has
I
to
got
be.
you.
Otherwise,
I
it
got you.
cannot happen.
But how we dealt with that shit in every place.
So
And I say this, and I'm just bringing it up because I want to address what you're saying about how it felt to see Black people doing that. We know that slave masters would stand back after a while and make us beat the slaves.
and let them do it themselves.
We know that Black people would say, I'd rather you whoop my ass than him, because I know you don't mean it. We have been conditioned to accept this kind of shit from each other at the hands of white supremacy. So when we get distracted and we start talking about what we're doing to each other, as opposed to talking about white supremacy, the institution of policing Black people, then we get distracted by what our real challenge and what our real fight is.
And I agree with you in that sense, is that we can strip ourselves of titles. We talked about that before we started the show. Let's strip ourselves of titles and just be Black men. Okay, so if we strip ourselves of titles and stuff like that, although we could say they bought into the whole policing game, Black men beating a Black man. And we see that all the time in our neighborhoods. We see us terrorizing each other. We see ourselves taking from each other. You know, I had a young man told me, I said, if I'm a Black man here and a white man here, and you're sitting here, who's more of a threat to you? He said, you as a Black man. And he couldn't explain why. He said, that's all I know. So it gets into that conversation we were having earlier about from where do we start teaching them? We got to start teaching them from the womb. We got to start teaching them from the womb that we have to love one another, love each other, look at each other and see the value in that Black man's face right there, and the value in your Black mama.
See yourself.
See yourself.
See yourself. We have no nation, we have no code. But it just played out into that, right? Whether it be in the streets, whether it be in with the police, no matter where it is, we have no nation, we have no code.
But see, the crazy thing about it, we will kill for a street. We will kill for a street name. We'll kill for a neighborhood.
Because we have no nation, we have no code.
But
We would also kill for a plantation.
Yeah.
We would kill for the branding of a slave master.
Right.
Because again, I'm not saying that what you're saying isn't valid. Never. But we've never dealt with what has happened to us.
Right.
And every time that these things come up and we start to have that narrative and that conversation about what has truly happened to us.
Right. Yes.
We have so many other things that happen that we end up having to move on.
Because we have never been able to breathe.
Right.
Eric Garner said, I can't breathe. We've never been able to breathe long enough. We've never been able to, because we've had so much stuff to deal with. You know, you finish cooking breakfast and you got to start cooking lunch. Right. And then it's dinner time. And then it just goes back around, it revolves. We don't have time for someone else to do it for us. We don't have time to sit up and say, let me deal with this and you deal with that, because I got something over here to deal with. No, we don't have time to do that.
And if we're honest,
we better make time.
And if we're honest, every time that we have made time, we've gained traction, those people were taken away from us.
Yeah. Oh, it's taken, because you know why?
Every last time.
You know why? And it happens on our jobs.
Yeah.
It happens in our communities. You know, let us get something, and then all of a sudden, here comes the tax man. or you didn't pay your taxes on it. You know, or they're gonna find something, somehow, to say you did something wrong. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. We have to get our own. Okay, now that gets into what you talked about earlier, Keith. Is it, you know, we say it, but is it possible? Is it possible? We talk about it in our lifetime. You know, I remember when I could double my age. I was 25, I was 26. Okay, I'm gonna live to 50. Okay, I'm 57 now. 114 ain't happening.
Right.
So my question is, when we talk about our lifetime, when we talk about our kids' lifetime, at what point are we gonna start to get our own, or is it possible in these 48, 50 states, is it possible to get our own in this country?
And I don't know that it truly is, because there's so many things that we run up against, and there's so many, because we don't have that positional power or authority in so many different areas. And I'm just talking education. You know, when you look up, you know, you may see some Black superintendents, you may see some Black associate superintendents, but it's become so few and far between that we don't truly get that opportunity to speak to what our kids need in the education system. And even when you throw things out there to say, I'm going to give you the facade that we're going to do this work, then when you try to start having those hard conversations about really doing that work, there's so many people that don't look like you that don't want to do that.
Well, I think too, what had ever happened too is I think that what they've done, the system's done a really good job of taking away the ability to self-govern, right? And self-discipline. Because that's where it's gonna start, right? We have to govern ourselves first and foremost. Yeah, we know, you know, oppression, we know, like we've been through a lot and are gonna continue to go through things. But there has to be a space, and me and Brother Keon talk about this, and Brother Hinson, where, because you said something earlier before the cameras came on, which is we have the ability to, I can't remember what you said, to do whatever we want to do, right? But it's just we have to create that space of self-governance, and I'm at a space now where I'm tired of looking at anybody else to save us.
Right.
It's up to us. You know what I'm saying?
But doesn't that come with building institutions? So like,
It does.
You can't talk about doing anything within the community if you don't have an institution within the community to support. So if we don't have our own educational institutions, if we don't have our own, and I won't even say policing, I would just say protection institutions. Like, and every time that we have taken steps to build those things, because the Black Panthers did represent what we can do when we want to protect our community.
The UNIA did.
The UN,
right?
So we know
the nation does.
We have built our own banking institutions. We have built our own educational institutions. We've done these things, but every time we've met with tragedy in doing those. So
we get more and more separate, man. We had a key window when unity was the thing.
Right.
When it was the thing. It was a small window. And I think we may have missed the window. And that's why I said I fear what it will take for us to get to the second time around. But because we was fresh out of, you know, slavery, Jim Crow, segregation. We knew we was like this for the most part.
Yeah.
We was back to back. We was back to back for the most part. That was really our window, because once you start giving everybody their own, and the my and the me and the I, and Garvey said it, individualism and monetary is going to be the death of us. And at this point, we are more divided than ever and more monetary than ever.
And it's why other ethnicities are able to still advance, because they're still close to their struggle.
Well, they
right?
But they sit there and they watch our division. And see, the thing is, we have models of our education. Let's look at our HBCUs. And what they talk about. You're a product of an HBCU. I'm a product of an HBCU. I don't know if anybody else is. Okay, so we know the immenseness, the positivity of coming out of an HBCU, but we know the BS with HBCUs too. You know.
Yeah, but we shouldn't talk about that.
But here's the
not
thing.
publicly.
Okay, I got you. No, okay, I got you. But let's talk about the reality of it. Let's just talk about the reality of it. Okay, so but it gets into when we have our institutions, we have those things that are set in place. you know, those are the things we got to nurture and protect. We got to take care of those things. We got to take care. That's a cold phone right there. Okay, and I'm gonna say, okay, don't leave that phone.
Right.
Okay, because if you walk off and leave it, I'm gonna take it.
Right.
You're gonna come back and you're gonna be like, man, I threw my phone. Man.
Knowing that you were here.
Knowing that I was here and knowing that I could just say, Brother Hinson, man, it's all phone.
Right.
Yeah. No, but I'm not. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna make it my own. And see, that's the thing that we have to do when we talk about building our own and building and going from inside out. We got to be able to build something
So it's the trust it.
and sustain it.
So let me say this, because part of I think what the solution is. Like I call myself an Afrofuturist.
Yep.
Right. And I do a lot of things along those lines. That's my thinking right now. So when I start talking about institutions, this is what I mean. We're on the Earth Mama Healing Network.
Yes.
Sister Rowe spends a great deal of time putting content out in these social media platforms. She owns Earth Mama Healing Network. This is becoming an institution where at least people in our community can come and get this kind of information.
Right.
That is the beginning of an institution.
Right.
We have online currencies that exist right now. We have politics that exist in a futuristic form right now. We have the ability to build every institution that we want to see online, and that's where everything is going anyway. The problem is we're not thinking about that right now. Sometimes we apply very old concepts in a very new world.
Oh, absolutely. We don't have a unified front, right?
Yeah. Huh?
We don't have a unified front.
We can create a unified front in a space that we create using technology now. And I think that's where our conversation, I think that's where our solutions are. Like we're not gonna get out in the street and hold picket signs and get change in that respect.
And I like that thought, which brings me back to what you said about the window. Here's the window.
Yeah.
Right. Here's the window again.
Now here we are again.
Yeah, we are again with the window, right?
Yes,
Because now what happens is that the information, as you were talking about, it can now be mass. Right. Here's our window. And so this is the space where we got to get our youth and start to, you know what I'm saying, get them to because one thing I think we discussed this some years ago. You were like, Mike, the only way we really gonna be able to advance is once we start to see ourselves through the same lens, right? So then I can see, okay, Key, I got Brother Hinson, I got Craig, I got Dwight. We all see it the same way. So now, boom, we all moving in the same thing. And I think what you just said with the Afro futurism is here's that window again. Yeah. And we got to get in that window and start to, you know what I'm saying?
If we don't, we're going to produce more 5 more, 10 more, 15 more.
There you go.
But if we get in that window, we can't break it ourselves. We can't break that window. See, that's the thing. Once we get something, we got to nurture it and take care of it and build it and make it bigger and better. That's my issue. We talk about media. We got Brother Allen, Brother Byron Allen. Brother Byron Allen had. We all knew Brother Allen from doing
talk shows.
This man is a billionaire now, and he's building the media. They can't do the weather without his weather report.
Yeah.
We got that stuff going on, but see, here's the thing. We go and say, okay, well, we're gonna sit there and watch. We're gonna support Brother Allen. We're gonna watch his shows. We're gonna do everything he's doing. Oh man, I ain't gonna watch that, man. I ain't watching that. Well, why not? Why not? Why aren't we supporting what this brother is doing and learning? Because, like you said, just like you said earlier, Byron Allen. Go to you know who Byron Allen is? Does he play for the? Is he
Lakers?
Yeah.
Along that same line, what I've been hearing a lot of is a value system. What do we value?
What do we value?
So let's talk about that. How do we get us to value us? How do we, and where do we start that? I've heard some conversation about starting in elementary schools. We were talking about a program just reviving baseball and what that looks like, starting at a young age. So how do we? And I know that's a whole big conversation.
It is. It's
That's a show.
And where do we start?
Right.
Where do we start? I always thought.
Just a quick thought on it.
We got to stop thinking monolithic though. We can start everywhere. We have the ability to start everywhere. We have technology, we have history, we have each other. We can start everywhere.
Right.
We can address these things, and we have people in different places to do this work.
But I think you mean like,
I
I feel you, but I think you mean like strategically, right? Because the thing is, we could be doing the work right here. Us 50, we doing the work, and these 100 is not doing the work. And then this 50 go back out in the world with this 100. The number, society has a stronger magnetic pull and influence on people.
Absolutely.
So it has to be done like in more than one space at more than one time. You know what I mean? So kind of like you're saying, everywhere.
Yeah.
But there has to be some kind of
we
order.
have to have a central
across the
focus.
nation.
Yeah.
I agree. We have to have a central focus because what happens is one thing that plagues us too as a people is, man, a lot of times we work in silos.
Yeah. We work
And
inside.
that messes us up, man,
Yeah.
because somebody over here is doing, I just need to support them in what they're doing.
Right.
I need to support Brother
Right.
Keon or Brother
Right.
Hinson. And just like Mama Earth Healing Network, everybody should be tapping in.
Right.
Yeah.
But
It's our
see,
news outlet.
you're so right, Mike, because what happens is, oh man, I can do that myself. No, bruh, let that man.
And
let that man-
support him.
And support what he's doing. And that's what I'm talking about. Support what we need to learn how to support each other, and also gets into protection. It gets into protection because we sit here and talk about what we can't do and what's taken away from us. That's called being allowed to. That's allowed to. And we always talk about, man, the white man still got his foot on our neck. Okay? Some of what is we allow that to happen. We allow that to happen, And so the thing is, I'm not gonna let somebody take something from me. I'm not gonna let somebody come in my house and take from me. Okay? And if they do get it, they ain't gonna get it without a fight.
You got to take my life too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, we talk about what is it though? What is our value? You talked about what do we value? We were joking about reparation money. We were talking about reparation, and somebody told me it was a joke. His brother said, if they give us reparation money, I'm gonna go to GM and buy up a bunch of stock because there's gonna be a lot of Cadillac Escalades sold if that happens. I'm gonna go buy Nike stock because there's gonna be a lot of Jordans bought. It's funny, but it's real.
Yeah.
So where does our value come?
So solution wise, I think, and we've talked about this before too.
And I want to say values are connected to your identity. But go ahead.
Yeah, no,
Right.
that's a good
Where do-
point. And
how
so-
do we see ourselves?
And so I think a value statement, I think if we could start there at that point, right? Because we were discussing before the cameras came on, like everybody not gonna be able to come. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
We got some, we gotta
That's
cut
true.
some of y'all. Some
That's
people look
true.
like me. Hey, you got to go. That's just is what it is because we're moving forward. I'm not sacrificing the plight and the freedom of my people I'm not doing it.
Right.
All right.
With your bullshit. It's
Yeah.
okay to say that.
Yeah, with your
Right,
bullshit.
with your bullshit.
You got to get up out of here. So in a nutshell, I think I am proposing, and I would love to see a set of a value statement put together by us who are trying to move forward and trying to empower our people, right? And if you can't get inside that value statement, man, you got to go. And what happens is that
Because you're telling yourself when you can't get with it.
exactly
These values
Thank
are,
you.
if they're,
Thank you.
everybody should agree.
You telling on
if you
yourself.
are like,
why
yeah,
we immediately know.
So, and I'm being a little bit of the devil's advocate, then who are you to define me?
Right.
That's just what I'm saying.
So-
That's because that's
so-
the pushback you're gonna get.
no, these
so-
values, again, pardon me, these
Go ahead.
values are around our babies.
Yeah.
If you build values
I'm pushing
around
back.
children,
Yeah.
and children's worth and their future, if the values are set, because that's the future. We're not talking about,
Okay.
they the future.
Right.
We're talking about Afrofuturism, so we're talking
Right.
about babies.
Right.
We're talking about children. We're talking about now to an extent because we need a model for them to exist within. But in essence, we are talking about our future. We're talking about our children. If we come up with a set of values that there's no way you can disagree with these because they're centered around the growth and development and love and protection and nourishment and nurture of our children. If you can't get with that,
So then we create our own Bible,
Can we
so to
hold?
speak. We create our own that.
we got a model we've been talking about. They call it Village Accords. They're called a Village
Let's
Accords.
go.
Yeah.
I already told you.
9
Whatever
points,
you-
16 articles,
Whatever you
9 laws
hey,
and 16
let's go.
policies that we as
Oh.
Black men
We
build.
focus on that.
Right, this is
That's what I like that Village Accord.
it's the Village Accords because
Yeah.
we're all in the same accord, and this is what the accord is about. It's our babies. And if we say that the like minds. It ain't gotta be everybody off top.
No.
Just the like
Just the like
minds
minds.
who's doing the work and promote this. And you know, if it's about the children, you should be able to wiggle that into the schools to get the kids to, hey, mama, there's these village and court, right? Because we going through those, our churches, our elders, those institutions. And before you know it, we outnumbered the bullshit. Because anybody that's not with this, you're telling them yourself, and we watching you.
I'm gonna slow this down for just 1 second because I want this young brother to introduce himself.
So what's up? How you doing? My name is D'Angelo Smith. I'm affiliated with Hawk. Currently, I'm head of DigiDoor. What we try to do is we try to bring those that maybe don't have the encouragement, the environment, or the equipment to step into the digital space. We're trying to bring them in and help grow not only their skills, but their self-confidence through project-based assignments that will help them understand that whatever's in their brain and whatever they can put to paper, they can use and they can be valuable.
Right on.
And this is where we are right now in that. When we're talking about village accords, when we're talking about values, when we're talking about how we find this cohort of our people that are going to move in this direction, it has to happen in the realm that he and the space that he's talking about.
Right.
That way we can be everywhere at the same time. We don't have to be monolithic in the conversation that we're having, because one thing is for sure, whether it's on our phones or on our laptops or our iPads or computers or whatever, everybody goes into this digital space.
Oh, the metaverse is coming.
Yeah.
The metaverse is coming.
You better be ready.
How are we building institutions moving into this space? And it's free right now.
So
it's free right now for us to be able to build all these kinds of institutions.
And one of the things, man, that I actually, you know, as a young Black father, I have a son, 3 years old, and I'm gonna name drop this dude, Jason Williams. I don't know if any of you heard of him, but he's very involved in the social media space, and I happen to come across him just talking about how to be a Black father, how to instill not only strength but compassion, and understand and talk to your son and connect at that level. He has so many great videos and just snippets that when I'm having a hard day, you know, trying to, because I don't believe in hitting, you know, I try not to hit my son. I try to, you know, teach him through, you know, just conversations and talking through his emotions. But there's some days, you know, that he's just going wild, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do.
You don't want to spare the rod.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be soft on him, but I'm not trying to go as hard as you know what I'm saying, as I experienced. So I'm like, bro, I'm like, you so lucky, because if this was old time, you would have been body slammed by now. But just having his snippets come across, you know, is something that helps keep going. That another Black man that's older than me, because I feel like that's what we don't see in that. And we talk about village accords. What we lost a lot, especially in the crack epidemic, is we talk about it all the time, is the older generation, the older men or the older women, or everything gets lost, so we don't get that old head wisdom. And I think a lot of it too, it comes across as a message, because man, these young kids not trying to hear what old head's saying. If you come at it from you need to listen to me, I need you just be like, hey, look, I can show you this is what I did.
Some of their ass need the rod.
Some of them
need the
Some
rod.
of them do need the
Some
rod.
of them need the rod.
Some of them need the rod.
So
They've been sparing the rod for too long with their ass. Trust me.
So I think the terms that we're talking about that are important with reference to the concepts that we're talking about moving forward, programming and social engineering, because a lot of reasons why we're in the situation that we're in is through social engineering and through programming. So if we're talking about how we use platforms like this brother's talking about, and how we bring concepts like we're talking about to a people, it has to be through a system of programming. Like every day, we all get up and we have our own programming for ourselves. We have these certain sites that we go to. We have these certain podcasts that we listen to. We have these certain, whether it's funny content or whatever it is, we have our own way that we get through our day using these devices and these things that we have at our disposal. And we are programming our day so that we can get through it. There is so much content out there from people like us, from all over the world. But what we don't have is like a hub where we can go to that and we know what these things are accessible. So part of building that value system, I think it's the programming and it's the social engineering aspect of it.
You were going to say something then. After you say that, I want to kind of refocus back on an issue and bring the metaverse into that and how
Yeah.
we can use that. So you were about to say something.
I don't know. I don't remember. I want to say a lot, but I was going to bring it back to because we be talking about things as it pertains to the stem and the root of this conversation is them 5 cops.
Right.
And
So that's why I'm going to bring it back.
Right.
Yeah.
But we end up talking about it because again with us, it's gumbo. It's hard to stick with one thing. We've been through so much. We've never dealt with so much. So anytime we talk about one thing, we go end up talking about something else and something else and something else.
Connected.
It's always interconnected,
Yeah.
right? It's a lot for us to peel back. It's a lot for us to sort through, isolate, what you call compartmentalize and deal with accordingly. It's tightly woven. It's tightly woven. So I was just gonna try to swing it back.
Yeah, that's. I'm gonna swing it back because you're right. This conversation did start revolving around the incident that happened in Memphis, and so one of the things that I'm always hearing and I'm seeing is how do we talk to our children or tell our children or work with our children on how we deal with police, and what that looks like, and that looks different for everyone. I can imagine being in that world, what you talk to your children about. I know there was a point where I've talked to my children, or they've been in the car with me, or I've been with my brother and something has happened. And then it's like, how do I show my son how do I survive this incident? And everybody doesn't have to do that. But I want to take that thought, and with everything that's going on with the internet and how we have so much access to information, and other people can shape and program our days with content. How do we talk with our children, knowing that they have this $1,500 computer that's more powerful than any object that they've had in the world before? So let's talk about that. How do we talk to our kids about
one of the conversations that I have with my 2 sons is there are some things that you can just do up front to protect yourself for what you know. So you don't want to drive around in a car without a driver's license.
Right.
You want to make sure that your tags are up to date. You want to check your car and make sure that your headlights, and your tail lights, and all those things are in order.
Preventative.
Like just all those preventative things.
Avoid
what you want to do is you want to create a space where they have no reason to even speak to you. And the way that you carry yourself out in public, the way you carry yourself among your peers and among your family, that's based on whatever that is. But when you have to step out and deal with these people out in the world, there's a certain way that you have to carry yourself so that you don't have the red flags. Don't still walk around with these masks over your face. And if you do, make sure it's a medical mask or something that you can clearly see that I'm trying to protect myself from something, as opposed to I'm trying to conceal my identity. Like, you don't want to do anything that makes you stand out, because you already stand out just by the nature of your skin. When you walk into any room, any space, you have to present yourself a certain kind of way, because people already have a certain opinion about what it is that you look like. And you can't go through life with this, well, I don't care what people think because I'm an individual and so on and so forth. Other people can do that shit. We can't do that.
Nope.
And it's not realistic to tell young people that they can just walk around and do that.
Yeah, we got to get away from that.
Yeah, we have to get away from that. Like, because that literally can prevent interactions with people that we don't want to come in contact with.
It's life or death.
Just that.
So my take on it's different because I was in the industry, in the profession. And so my oldest daughter, she saw all her uncles were black officers. So she has a different perspective, because you say something about black officers. So when I grew up around them all, and they aren't like that.
Right.
Now I have an 8-year-old daughter who goes to school, and she'll come home and she'll talk about what they say about cops and stuff like that. She doesn't understand, and I'm retired now, so she doesn't see the day-to-day stuff. She doesn't know about that stuff. But I listen to what she says about the perception of what officers are. Some of it is correct, but some of it I have to redirect her. But it still goes into whether you are, even as I've been stopped, God knows how many times, because I've always had a nice ride. I've always had, and I've never put myself above the law, but I also know the law and I know what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing. I call them on it. Immediately. No, you can't do this. Or I know your sergeant. I know your lieutenant, stuff like that. So, but I do know that what we have to do for our babies is like you said, they have to be in a correct way in society. Okay, we've got to do that because you are a target, and I'll
avoid them at all costs.
And the thing is,
your interaction can go 50-50. Every interaction,
It don't matter.
Your best bet is to avoid them at all
I
costs.
do this right now. I will engage like going to Starbucks and I'll see three of them. I'll engage with them.
You comfortable enough to?
No, but I'm comfortable enough to, but no, what I do that is to shake them up. Not so much to engage with them. They don't know I'm an officer but see, here's the thing. No, I shake them up because what I'm doing is I'm just saying, I'm a black man. You don't know, he will tell you, you'll never know I was in law enforcement. But I shake them up. I put them in a situation where you're gonna have to deal with a black man coming to you, hey, how you guys doing today? You're gonna speak to me, you're gonna speak to that white man, you're gonna speak to me.
You in there to teach them a lesson, or you in there to wanna be.
But no,
in a company.
It's not that I want to be in a company at all. But what I'm saying is, what all I'm simply saying is that they have to, or they need to, treat me like they treat that other cat that walked in there. Now, is it a fallacy?
Yes and no.
Is it a fallacy?
So we're talking about, but what we're talking about, not to cut you off, but what we're talking about is the things that we would impart into our children when dealing with them.
Right.
So I understand where you're coming from, but I think
We talking about when they uniform is on and they driving.
the everyday average black boy, black girl, they should not interact with the police.
Yeah, because you approach them in Starbucks.
So
we approach them like on the sidewalk.
Okay, but here's what I'm asking you. Here's what I'm asking. I'm gonna get into this because no, you say they should not interact with the police. But if something goes down, who you gonna call? You gonna call the milkman?
It's not about that though, because in a controlled situation, right? Our kids interact with the police. Kids interact with the police in the school. They interact with the police under controlled situations.
Right.
And we don't have a fear of that because it's in a controlled situation.
Right.
We should, but we don't.
Right.
Right. What we're talking about is the everyday. I send my child to the corner store to buy something. My child wants to go to the movies and they catch the bus there, or I drop them off and now they're dealing with the officer in the mall. Mm-hmm. There's a different mentality in how they have to deal with us that is vastly different from the mentality that they have to have on a school campus.
I agree. And I'm not saying, hold on, but I'm not telling them to challenge them, but I'm not telling them to run from them either. And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I got that.
Yeah, I'm not saying go up and challenge them or even be their friend. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm also saying I don't want them to necessarily have the fear of them. And that's the problem.
We're not saying fear. We're not saying fear.
There's justification for that.
Because when you're raising kids, especially boys, you don't fear anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I don't want my
doesn't matter what they look like. So we don't raise our kids to do that. But I think what is best for our safety is that we not engage.
If you see them, my dad always said, go the other way.
Yeah,
whatever. I used to be one of the top police. I swear to God, where I come from, in New York, in New York, you talking to police, just like real talk. That was my practice here for a while in Sacramento. I'm like, it's not the same. Right. They got time.
That makes sense.
In New York, you do with the police however you want to, take them on a chase, whatever case may be. And those be my experiences when I'm there back home. Me being who I am, and my first bad experience with the police, I was 10, a gun to my head. What the fuck you gonna put a gun to a 10-year-old's head for?
Right.
A 10-year-old's head, me and my brother. That developed the bitter taste for them in general.
Right.
And then, racism on top. This is before I even understood racism and all. And by the time you start getting a little bit of knowledge of self and systems and everything, it really is FTP. It's FTP. So I would taunt them, I would talk, you know what I mean? And it never really got me too far. Never mind. But I learned though, but my father always said, Keon, stop playing with them. He always said, don't play with them.
Yeah.
You see them, so go the other way.
So-
My father always said, go the other way.
I think
We gonna
to
go
real
here
quick,
and
it's
you
a
got something.
what and to McGill's
Sounds good.
see, we know each other. But listen, I think the point is this though, because you raised me, but there has to be you always have to have. My mom always tell you have to have almost a police preparedness.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So I ain't engaged. I'm just not on just off the. I just know you. But to bring it back to what we were talking earlier about the incident in Memphis is they've always used constant reminders, right? They want you to see how we beat you down, right? Because it keeps the rest of everybody else in line, type thing. You get what I'm saying?
Rule by fear.
And rule by fear, right?
Rule by fear.
And so we're going back to just trying to bring it back to this is that I think that's why they played it. Because I was aghast by it. When I heard they were gonna announce it, and it was like you said, it was a build up,
Like
and
a
drum
build-up, yeah,
roll.
6 o'clock,
and
yeah.
6 o'clock,
Yeah,
you
6
watch
o'clock,
it, and I was just like,
yeah.
yo, that's
Yeah.
bananas that you're gonna put this for the
Yeah.
world to see, kids to see, that type of thing. And so
Willie Lynch.
Well, and see, for that police chief, her thing was full transparency. I do it early, but think about it. It happened January 7th, and it didn't come out until the 24th. So they've known about this since January 7th. He died 3 days later. So it wasn't like it was that immediate. It was some planning and
They
there
had
was
to
some-
get advertising
and
dollars. They had
and
to
strategic
get
with
everything in
Yeah.
place.
Okay, so
to do that.
yeah, CNN officials watched it first.
they had a private vision.
Yeah,
They had to
yeah,
get script
first.
together.
I guarantee you what we
So
said.
it wasn't as immediate, but I think there was some, and then it's coming out now that there's a whole lot of stuff that happened that, so it wasn't that transparent.
Right.
But I go back to the whole thing was, what did it show us? What did it show us about us?
I'm gonna let this young brother say something, then we're gonna pivot again on another topic.
So for me, because at my job, I'm on a diversity inclusion, and we talk about what we want to do for Black history. And one of the things I'm tired of Black trauma porn. Like, I'm tired of us making millions off of Black. I don't want to see any more slave movie. That's just me. I don't want to see my people beat down in big HD 4K. I don't want to see that. I think what we need now, man, is just on a path of us celebrating us. But to get back to the kids, now I get what you mean, because I feel like we're at a crux where it's like, all right, the police is dangerous for us by encounters, unforced encounters, right? However, we still need a protection entity, because like he was saying, when somebody breaks into our house or somebody does wrong by us, we, not all of us is, gangster, we're gonna get ours back. We need that help. So we kind of have to have a symbiotic relationship with them. But I do think that there are levels of interaction where like I'll know off top if, all right, he on some other shit. This isn't, sorry.
Right.
He's on something else. All
All
right. But he's on something else, and there's nothing that I can do to satisfy whatever power trip he is looking for.
Right.
Now, the hardest thing I think is, even for me now, is the act of, like you said, because we teach young men, a man is a man. A man gonna bleed. You know what I'm saying? Only God doesn't bleed. If he could bleed, he could die. He's not immortal. But swallowing that pride is hard when they can talk to you and make you feel less as a man.
Right.
Say whatever they want.
Get you to that allowed thing again. I'm talking about allowed. Yeah.
You gotta, and I think that's probably the hardest part, is just understanding that there is something bigger than this moment. My dad always said, because in Atlanta, they shoot for everything. Like, it changed from fighting today, and everybody has a gun. So like, even when I'm driving, I go back to Atlanta, and I'm driving, I'm beep, beep, beep. don't do that. Because my dad has had an altercation where a dude pulled him over and just pulled out his gun. But he told me, he said, in that moment, the most important thing is making it home. Yeah. Deal with whatever you got to deal with at home, whatever. But that most important thing in that moment is don't lose your life because you want to argue with this dude who has a power trip in his mind already or something internally going on with him. Don't lose your life over that because your life, like his insecurities isn't worth your life. You have a greater purpose. But I also think what could help that, and I think me and Mike B was talking about this, similar with the Black Panther Party, is somebody that can help back those transgressions or attack those transgressions from a civilized point of view so you don't have to do it in that moment. So you can know that if you go home and you have this cop's badge number or whatever, that you can tell somebody and then go back door and get that handled. You know what I mean? I think if you had that kind of support, so, I got somebody that'll help me so I can fall back now. I think a lot of it is you're not going to trample on me today. You never know because every day, as Black men, as Black women, you have to deal with transgressions, micro transgressions that add up. And at a point in time, you're going to get tired and tired of people talking to you how they feel. And that's the point is that those points can meet in that cop encounter. Right. You know what I mean? And that can fuel that. Like, that you have to make it back home, but he's talking crazy to you. But
isn't that, I think, if I were to ask each of you individually, we've all had that breaking point. With law enforcement, where it's like, fuck that, I'm not even dealing with them. Like, unfortunately, and depending on when it happens in your life, it can cost you your life.
Yeah.
So we've lived long enough now to where we're probably mature enough to where we can handle it. But when you see it in your kids, when you see it happen to your kids and those kinds of things, there is no, because we on the other side of it.
And to bring it back to that,
we'll kill
about the kids.
We'll kill about ours. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's why we have to make sure that they understand the rules that we follow by to get this far, so that they can get this far.
And I agree with you. You said, there's a point where we can handle it, but then there is also a point where, and I've seen it with older cats where, I don't have the patience. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And no, I'm going back to F that. I'm not going to take it anymore. Right. And because people figure I've lived a long life, I've done everything I want to do now, or you get into, like you said, you got to protect your kids. You got to protect your family. It gets into that whole thing where I can deal with some stuff. It's cool. You say that, but touch my daughter, touch my wife, touch my mom.
I think this is where the village of course could come in and help with your kids, because if we build the community around saying, all right, well, we have to have somebody representative on the police, or somebody that can go, or a lawyer, or somebody that can help enforce either influence or enforce some kind of change on the police officer side. If we had that community backing them, then you wouldn't have to worry about that with your child. You say, all right,
I disagree with you on that.
Why you say that?
Only in the sense of the village accords, as it relates to how we deal with each other, are in its most powerful iteration. It's in its most powerful.
So it's
about us.
But in an institution that is historically created to destroy us, no.
But I don't think I think you can't. I don't want to say you can't fight the institution from the outside. I just believe that if you had somebody that could fight within that arena for us,
they get followed up.
But you gotta have,
in order for them to even have a voice within that institution, so they've already given up.
Well, so let me say this. They're never gonna let go. They're never gonna let go.
The only choice
it's never. You think about it, and you think about it. It's not just law enforcement. But I can speak on law enforcement. But in these institutions, they are never gonna let go their core value. Their core value says, do not ever. You can bring them in, you can entertain them, you can let them be, but you never let this inside core go.
And then we can never truly protect.
Which is why it brings back to the point what Brother Keon said, which is
protect each other.
And that's what the village. And that's what I was about to tell you. The village accord. The village accord. We would be able to work that within us.
But that's what
to be able to teach our young people how not to even engage. You know what I'm saying? So these institutions, right? We we've done something where, and then it's a whole nother situation, is that we've desegregated, right? We, for whatever reason, that's what the civil rights movement was about, right? It was about melding and weaving into the systems, right? See, our generation,
Let's go.
we don't do civil rights, we do human rights. Right? The hip hop generation, we human rights. We know we can surpass whatever their accomplishments are, right? And so,
And this new generation do gender rights.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Okay, go.
Okay, brother. Okay.
No, yeah, let's go back.
So let's get into, but let's talk about that. Let's talk, because I talk about this all the time. Was segregation healthy for us?
No, hell no. We in agreement.
Was
it? Even the hindsight, we all know.
My
Grandmother was not with us.
grandmother was Tulsa.
When Dr.
Right.
King realized that integration wasn't going to be the answer for
So
it,
did.
he was assassinated a couple weeks
Right.
later.
But
So-
what I'm saying is, I'm just asking, once again, I'm that devil's advocate. Did segregation teach us all we had was ourselves? We had to teach each other, we had to clothe each other, we had to feed each other. We had to do it for ourselves because we had nobody else gonna do it but us.
At least we operated that way.
We was
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
We missed a few
in a
things.
sense.
We missed a few
But
things.
we wanted more fast. We didn't
Right.
know that segregation
Right.
had us.
Yeah.
We would have had the whole lot
With-
slow.
Exactly.
We wanted more
Exactly.
fast.
So
We
I
were
go
already
back
on
to,
path.
was segregation healthy for
We
us?
all said no. We all know. It
Okay.
was not.
So, but what
Was
I'm,
segregation healthy for
Yeah,
us?
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm asking you. That's why I asked it again. That's why I asked it. I kept saying it over and over again. No, I said segregation.
Segregation was the answer.
It was the answer.
So, brothers, I'm gonna take this onion and I'm gonna start squeezing it back together because we can go 1,000.
We will.
And we're gonna be here till 3. So I want to bring this up. I think this is important too because I was listening actually this morning. There was a clip. D.L. Hughley did a clip, and
Yeah.
he talked
watched the whole thing.
specifically about what's that brother's name? Jason Whitlock.
Yeah.
Did you guys get a chance to hear this?
Yeah.
So and Whitlock was basically talking about the whole downfall was that a single black
I couldn't
Mom.
believe that.
Oh,
See, we
man.
can't-
running it.
But that's different with
We
like,
should not. We shouldn't repeat that level of ignorance. Not
Okay.
in this point.
right.
I just think it's disrespectful to
Yeah.
to us as a people to repeat
I know
anything
what it
that
is.
motherfucker has to say
Right.
because he's so
It's
out
malware.
of pocket.
It's
My
malware.
thing was
Exactly.
this, it wasn't-
Malware.
my thing is
Malware.
not to repeat that, but my thing is to talk about how do we as black men, when we see our single black mothers out there working with our sons and working with our children, how do we help empower them to deal with this type of situation?
Well, let me say this. That coonery that I call it, for people like this, the thing is, we don't want to acknowledge, but we got a lot of that coonery in our society, in our community. And we got a lot of those people hated Dr. King. They hated Malcolm. They hated Medgar. Okay, they hated what our heroes stood for. So we got to deal with that coonery. We cannot, and I'm saying is we don't necessarily, we damn sure don't validate it.
Right.
But you got to know where your enemies are.
Coonery is by definition anybody who really wants to be a part of the, wave the flag and
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Anybody
yeah.
that's with that
Yeah.
shit, we don't need you, we don't want you.
Can
So,
I say this?
we don't
Can
need
I
you,
say this? Can I just say this?
We don't want that shit.
It hurts me every time we go there. So let me just say, these people do exist in our community.
Yes.
Right? But they're not pervasive. What they have is platforms that put them in front of people to make them seem like they are larger in our community.
Yeah.
Then they
And
really are.
most of their followers
I
are
agree.
it's
I
either
agree.
white or
like
agree.
non-black.
if you talk about
Hate it.
if you talk about single mothers, if you talk about black fathers, black single fathers, if you talk about the black family, if you look at us as a people around the globe, we are in a much better situation than the picture that is painted in
Right.
America.
Yes.
First of all, there are more of us around the globe than there are anybody else.
I wouldn't say we're in a better situation, bro, because we're not included in terms of the wealth of the globe.
So what I
We're
mean
not
by
really
that
there,
is, I'm sorry, I'm talking about from the
Well,
black
Gotcha.
family standpoint,
Got you,
and I'm talking
I'm
about
on the internet.
from
got you.
the
Say no more.
support
I
for
get it.
single mothers and the
Yeah.
support
Yeah.
for Black fathers and this whole idea of the absent father and all
Yeah,
this shit,
bullshit.
man.
That is facts.
That is, you
bullshit.
have these people painting this narrative like it's pervasive in our community,
Yeah.
and that's not the case.
Okay.
We work in communities
Come
where
on.
we're doing the work supporting sisters who are by themselves. We do things like encourage those sisters to bring your kids out to play sports. Get them involved in after-school activities. We have these programs. There's a lot of brothers
That are doing
and
it.
sisters that are doing the work to help our people.
It's almost,
They
it's
put
just,
these people in front of the
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
and they make it seem like it's pervasive, and it's not as pervasive. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist.
Right.
I'm just saying that it's not as pervasive to where it's this crisis thing. They'll have you believe that the Black man is almost extinct. It's
Yeah.
fucking impossible.
yeah,
Right.
so it makes no sense.
So,
That the Black family doesn't exist. It's impossible.
so when we talk about those programs, getting those now, and so now, we gotta get that Black mother to get an avenue to get her kids to these programs. And we're talking about, the avenue is transportation, affordability, but also, we gotta talk about vision. Okay, we gotta talk about vision. We talked about baseball earlier. I'm a golfer, okay, I have a big program. And one of the things that bothers me is that in the next couple of years, my program, unless we figure out an avenue, is we're not gonna have any Black kids in it. Now we do, but it's because other kids are starting to get more involved, because it's the education of educating our people to take advantage of those things. That basketball and football is not the only sports, and we need.
Even with the golf, that's in good hands, man. It's a brother, SBCGA.
Okay, wait. So, and he will tell you, don't get into golf with me, because don't get into golf with me.
Okay. But I'm just saying,
I just don't want this narrative out there that these Black single mothers are so helpless and they're just lost trying to raise these kids on their own.
Right.
You can't on one line tell me that the Black woman is the most educated
Right,
person
right.
in the
And then-
United
and
States
then
of
say-
America, and then tell me that they don't know how to raise kids.
Right.
That's some bullshit. I'm not gonna accept that.
See,
Right?
And that's
You're not
That's
gonna
that language that
tell
tripped
me
you up
that
like
the
that.
Black
Yeah,
man
I'm
is
glad
the
he
most
said that.
absent.
I'm glad you said
When
that.
you look at the Black man is probably the most admired human being in America.
Yeah.
By all cultures.
But we're here though.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you're
So
not
at
gonna
this-
just keep
at
on
this
doing that to
table,
us, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're not just gonna keep on doing that to us. That's bullshit.
Look at us at this table.
Come on.
My brother's a principal, right?
Come on.
I'm in education. Keon does educate. It's just when you talk about this type of stuff, it just makes me like, what? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and that's my point.
Brother
Golf.
teaches golf.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. But here's what happens. What we do in this room does not always translate to the community, because it's just us, and we have a lot more people that we need to affect. There's not enough of us to do that, go out there and make that impact, and we are all, everybody except for this young man got gray, and so the thing is, here's what happens. We have got to teach them, but we've also got to train our successors.
And
Okay. We've got to train our successors, because that's what happens is that, and I saw it in March, I've seen it in golf, I've seen it in a lot of things where you're out here and, Brother Hinson, you're doing your thing, Brother Hinson, and then 10 years go by, 20 years go by. I mean, I can tell, I've known this young man since he was 7 years old, okay? And then when I asked him, hey, Mike, how you get so old, so quick? And I'm like, well, I've gotten this old, So, but the thing is, Mike came behind me and a bunch of other cats. So he's doing that work. And then I can validate him. But see, the thing is, how many cats that are coming behind us can we validate to keep doing that work?
That's a good point. I think we did as a people, we did a horrible job, and I ain't trying to blame nobody, of passing down.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is with the baton, man. But people just want to hold it and keep running. It's like, man, well, listen.
last week that goddamn.
Well, now you're in seventh. You was in first at first. Now you're in seventh. Can you pass it? So I'm going to keep it.
I think there was a time where we weren't doing as good a job as we're doing right now. But if I'm hopeful about anything, I just don't. I'm real protective of where we are as a people.
Right.
Now, is there trauma within our community, within our families that
Absolutely.
we need to work out?
Absolutely.
Right, amongst ourselves, and we are.
That in-house work.
That in-house work is that's been ongoing.
And we're not gonna get nowhere without that in-house work.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
Right.
It can't happen.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
impossible until we start dealing with all of our internal shit amongst ourselves.
I agree.
Because those 5 pigs, that was. Listen, man, that was the internal shit on display.
Yeah.
That was the
So
internal
was.
shit on
Yes.
That's
So
what that
was.
was about.
Yeah.
That's what this conversation
So
is
was.
about. It's about
So
what
was.
and how do we transform our, I mean, come on, 500 years later, we still here talking about this shit?
Yeah.
Right.
And see, no, hold on.
Yeah, you're right.
500 years, no, think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
500 years later, we sitting here talking about the great sleepover.
Yeah.
We went to sleep and never woke up.
Right.
We went to sleep and never woke up. 500 years later, we're still trying to figure out. That tells me right there, it's not so much the outside shit no more,
Right.
as it is the inside
that's-
shit.
and that's
It has
the
nothing
same
to
thing
do
I
with
think.
nothing else no
So
more.
they gotta listen. They gotta listen. They gotta be taught. And they have to listen. And they have to be able to, and we have to know when they go out. It's like one of those things. Like in the Asian community. If you don't get it, you're not going
But it's
out.
not gonna be done.
But we
It's-
also have to
it's not-
learn.
and it's not
Let-
gonna be
let-
done
let me
nicely,
say
no
this,
more.
like,
It's guerrilla
because-
tactic. We have to guerrilla our real shit.
Yeah.
We have to guerrilla tactic our stuff. We gotta roll up. You know what I mean? If you're not in the way, you're getting rolled over with this righteous shit or with this good. Because at this point, like we're not a monolith.
Right.
That's part of the problem
Yeah.
to a certain extent.
Right.
Everybody going their own goddamn
Right.
way. It's like
Right.
everybody
Right.
get information off the internet right now, and I know what I know, and I know what I know, and everybody's a fucking genius in their own right.
Right.
You know, nobody
Right.
knows
Right.
shit because we still sitting at the table trying to figure it out.
I would also just add in there that we
It's
have a lot
bro.
to
It's a
learn
lot.
from young people.
Yeah.
We do.
It's a
Like,
lot.
being given the
Oh,
blessing of working with young people.
Absolutely,
Like,
we do.
When you look at how jobs are being created,
Oh, yeah.
our generation is not creating jobs. You got teenagers in that 15 to 35 age range.
Listen,
They are creating jobs.
that's part of the problem.
And
It's a
they're-
good thing, but once you got a 15-year-old millionaire, you're not telling him shit.
It's true.
You got a 20-year-old millionaire, you're not telling him shit.
It's
If
true.
you're not telling about the bag right now, right?
It's true.
That's again, it's
But
part
what
of
I'm
the,
saying is
but they
but it's
lacking.
that part that we're not learning from them is what I'm talking about. Like all of us probably have our technology set up by our kids.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like we walk in
My
with,
daughter
with,
fixed
with
my
new
phone.
shit,
She's 8.
and we hand it to our kids and say,
Not me.
do this. You know what I mean?
Well, I will
Yeah.
say,
They teach us.
I will say, you're right about that because I would like to think I'm in a role of a mentor for D'Angelo, right? So I gotta call him. Like, hey, man, I don't know nothing, you know what I'm saying?
And that's-
and it
And
is-
I bring that
that's
up, and I bring that up
That's
only.
because that's cool.
Yeah.
But it's not the fundamental shit that's gonna make us move together.
No,
But that's gonna
Right.
be your fundamental carrier though to them. If you
Yeah.
can't communicate with them,
Yeah.
then you're never gonna get the message that you're
I'm
trying to
gonna tell
say.
you,
Yeah.
this is
And
what
that's the
makes
part.
it
And that's the part that I kind of. So it's the part where you guys are doing great work, and I think that's where you're missing the second generation is because you can't communicate to them.
Right.
Like not everybody is in person just by the nature of the world. The nature of the world, we're inside more. I grew up on the tail end. Like I was born in '89, so I grew up on the tail end where we were going outside every day. We were having basketball tournaments between neighborhoods. Like I remember that, and it transitioned vastly, especially with video games, especially with online, with doing the videos, the vlogs, and all that. It transitions into a more of I got my phone, I'm on myself, but you have to connect through that phone. And the thing is, once you connect through that phone, then you could get them to come out, and you'd be like, all right, well, I know, whoop de whoop, all right, bet. And part of it too is you got to play the game. You know, they like clout. All right, well then, like we were doing, setting up with Digidor. All right, let's set up and let's use our platform, build up a network among the young people. Let them run it. Like if they're looking, and this is the good part about what he's saying.
For each other.
If they're willing to take charge now, if you give them the reins and just run with it, they can build you a bigger platform. And then you just can't
I just
like,
gotta
well,
say
we
this
just need
because
yeah.
one of the key things that I learned from young people is that we grew up and we are traumatized.
Yeah.
They're not fucking traumatized.
They're not, yeah,
So,
it's weird.
They're not. They don't
it's a
see
weird
the world the
Yes.
way that we have
You're
been
right,
forced
right.
to see the world.
because
our
digital has
lifetime.
leveled all that.
Yeah.
I use my own kids. Like my youngest son, you know, the only person that he knows to be the greatest president is Barack Obama.
Barack Obama, yeah.
He came into existence
Yeah.
with a black family
Yeah.
running this country, regardless of what they did for America. That don't even matter to him.
Yep.
He doesn't know what it feels like to deal with Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon and all that shit.
Right.
So what they told me was they were like, hey, like you just so caught up in the struggle.
Yeah.
Like everything is
Yeah.
a struggle
Yeah.
for you. Everything is not a struggle for me. I don't have a problem talking to this person or that person. I don't have a problem learning from this person or that person. I don't have a problem going into these areas. They've never been denied to me.
Right.
So when you're telling me not to do something,
This is why
I
I
don't
say
have a
this,
problem.
this is the part where I say the hopeless part, because all that sounds good and I get all that, but you know what to me that is, y'all? We're further divided. We're talking about unity and moving forward,
only because
but in more ways than one.
only because I
scary.
think only in one respect that I
say.
see.
I got a point on that.
In one respect that I see, and I'm not disagreeing with you because we are divided, right? But there is a way for us to speed up that gap between us and young black people by just learning and taking those skills and listening to what they have to say. And it doesn't sound the same to us, but we can get on the same frequency with them. I give you an example.
I get that.
Like we from hip hop culture. So like when I first started hearing where hip hop was going, I was like, man, this shit is trash, right?
Yeah.
It was my child that said, Dad, do you realize you're sitting up here talking about a 16-year-old? You a grown man sitting up here talking about a 16-year-old's ideas and saying that it's trash. Like, how do you sound?
Okay.
Talking, you're not even giving him an opportunity
Okay.
to grow and become the man that you are artistically.
No, we just say he's trash.
You already
He might not
shut
be
it
trash.
down.
But
But
trash
we
now,
shouldn't even,
So-
and that's what he's saying. Like,
we shouldn't be talking to
he's like,
nobody
you
like
shouldn't even
that.
be talking to no kid like that. You should be talking to them like kid like that.
So-
And once I got that,
You had to fall
once
back.
I had to fall back, I had to
I feel you
re-listen to
because-
what it was that he was hearing.
But they need to hear us more because, go ahead.
I feel you because what you said is because I was so resistant to technology. Right?
Yeah.
I'm an in-person teacher.
Right.
I need it because I grew up in the theater, man. I'm like,
Right.
But then what happens is that working with D'Angelo and working with some youth, I realized I had to embrace the technology.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with my men's leadership class. I started doing actual curriculum through the phone, right? Research projects. Because now I'm controlling what they're doing with the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So now they trust us to be with the. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I ain't gonna lie. Oh boy, they would be mad. I would be like, hey, mess with that technology.
And the other part is like, we have to do our part as adults, right? To make ways to connect with our youth.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, you're just a dumb adult.
Yeah.
Right? You're just stupid.
Right.
But at the same token, they little asses need to give it.
I agree.
Because
And that's what I was gonna say.
They keep growing up in this false ass world.
Yeah.
They're gonna be living in this world in the metaverse. Like
I will give you
outside
this.
the metaverse, you know what's really
I
going
will
on?
give you this. I will give you this. I think that the phone and what they expect and all and activism has made them a little bit naive as to how the world works.
Naive.
Because the world is not as nice as these people on the internet
right,
that'll
right,
gather
right.
behind
Yeah,
you
so,
in hundreds.
It's just
But
like
it's
slander
not
somebody.
the same struggle that we can't.
Correct.
right, and so they need to know the derivative.
Yes.
They gonna do
Yes.
this and miss the whole
They
damn
need
boat.
to know the
We're
derivative.
post-racial. We
Because-
know everybody's
like-
everybody.
Yeah.
You know my best friend, he's white and he does.
Well,
But do you know your best? No,
But see-
no.
but see-
It's
No, you're
dangerous.
absolutely right.
It's dangerous.
Absolutely
It's just
right.
like
We gotta find
Brother
that
Hinson
balance.
said.
So you have to.
It's just like what Brother Hinson said. Like my daughter, her teacher asked who the president was. She said Barack Obama.
Dope.
The teacher did not. So my wife had a discussion with him because this is who she knows. Just like you have Washington and
Right.
on your wall, we have Barack Obama.
That's not a wrong answer.
It's not a wrong answer. He's our president.
Yeah.
He's our
He
president.
will be until we get another.
Right. But here's the thing. But here's the thing. We got to be able to, like you said, we have to be able to learn from these kids and accept this technology.
Yeah.
I'm a dinosaur. My phone, but I go to my 8-year-old. Honey, how you do this? And she'll be, no, Daddy, you don't have, no, I don't. No, I don't. So
Yeah. That's my pops too.
But then again, they have to know where things came from.
Yes.
Because if they don't, it's just like, if you don't know your history, you can't go.
They
there.
have no
and that's all in the
regards.
frequency
No
though.
regards.
Because you can't reach them, so they don't even see that context. So they're searching for their own context, and it's tough. It's tough because
it's up to us to teach them.
Like, so brothers,
yes, sir.
I'm gonna bring this back because we run out of time. Like I said, we're gonna be here till 3 o'clock. And I know some of us got to be gone.
Yeah.
So that being said, but this has been a lively conversation, and I know we could come and sit down and do this for many days.
We need a part 2.
Exactly. What I want to do is give everybody an opportunity to take a 1 minute, 2 minute wrap up, some final thoughts. What are your takeaways from today? What's something that you're going to do or say to somebody when you leave here about what we talked about today? I'm going to start with the young brother because he hasn't had a lot of chance to just jump in.
Nah, man, I've really just been soaking up game from the OGs, man. I always love coming and hearing you guys talk, man, and just because there's a lot of stuff I'm missing, man. Obviously, I talk to my pops all the time. My pops lives in Atlanta, and we've had plenty of conversations, but like you guys were saying, like that context to know where we come from and to know what they've all. And I think the most important part is knowing the tactics that they use, because you can see a lot of the same tactics, them propping up certain individuals using the algorithms. You can see the same tactics that they're using, and I think that's the most important part to battle the naivety that comes with all of this information, straight from the womb, in a sense. So I'm here myself soaking up game. And I love it, and if I could provide a little bit from my perspective, and then because that's all it's about, man. It's finding that medium, man. And once you find that connector, then you can steer them or you can bring them in. So
thank you, appreciate that, Mr.
You're
Hinson.
absolutely right. So if I go back to my original feelings, still frustrated, still disappointed, still going to speak the narrative of it's time for us to take our space in this new technology, and we need to have more ownership of media. We need to have more ownership of our narrative. We have to rebuild our institutions in this new way and get control of them. We don't need everybody's help to do that, but what is it? Us ourselves.
Yeah, we in good hands.
We in good hands. Us ourselves, and that's where I'm at. So like anytime that we need to come back to the table and have discussions and learn from each other and grow with each other, I'm going to be the first person here. Want to be the last person to leave to build with you brothers, and that's going to help me. It's going to help mine, and it's going to help ours. So that's where I'm at.
Okay.
As you said, us for us. That's what you said. Us for us. We in good hands. Our own, help and be helped. Right. Find your tribe. Find like minds that you can build with, and build. Do what you can. I tend to say of recent, like I find good people. I collect good people. You know what I mean? I find good people, and we don't let each other go. You know what I mean? And move forward with the idea, with the vision in mind, and build. Play your part, help and be helped. You know what I mean? Once we start to get at the root, at the core, again, we can do a lot. We can do a lot, man. I just appreciate y'all today in this conversation. I say that. I got a lot to say. But
Appreciate you too.
all right. Thank you.
All right.
Man, this has been tremendous. I love Black intellect, and in my daily life since I retired, I don't get a chance to be around, this as much as I want to, and it's on me. But this has been tremendous. As I still going back to what we originally thought, I'm frustrated, I'm scared, but I'm also excited when I see young brothers like this. I remember when I was younger, and my dad's no longer here, but my dad was somebody in this town, and he had a big impact on a lot of what has happened in the positive stuff happened in Black Sacramento. And then I remember coming along and watching Mike B when he was young, knowing Earth Mama for so long, and then now that I'm getting older and I can look up and see that these grown people are still doing what they're doing, it brings me a lot of joy and know that we're in good hands, but I think that we need more hands.
Yes.
I think we need more hands. And I think the wisdom that we have, we need to do a better job. I know I need to do a better job of imparting this wisdom, because I do get frustrated and I get tired, and it's just like, man, I'm tired of dealing with this, because for as much as you see happening, you see a lot that's not happening. And I think we tend to focus on the negativity part, like a lot of people do. Man, we don't have this, we don't have this, we don't have this. And then we have the young cat come along and say, but we got this. And we as as I say, as a dinosaur, we need to open our eyes up and look at, because it's like we wanted. I remember when my dad used to tell me that Michael Jackson and Prince, that's not music. He used to tell me that, and I'm like, Dad, this is the greatest thing in the world, And so I think that we all have a duty to ourselves and to our children, our grandchildren, and the next generation to do that. And we want things different. We want these cats to listen, but we need to walk along with them and explain to them instead of telling them what they got to do, and do some more suggesting and listening more. So this has been a great day. Thank you for having me.
It might be what we're doing right now in this closeout is, give your 1 or 2 minutes on, what this meant today, what for you, what's your takeaway, what's something that you may go out and talk to somebody about after today.
Yeah. So I think, first of all, let me say this needs to be a continued conversation. But I think that we have the power at this table and in this space to start activating some of this stuff, becoming solution based. And so this is what we were talking about earlier, is that we are out here doing that. Don't believe the hype, as P would say, right? And so, and those of us that are here, we're not even about people having to know that we're doing what we're doing. We just started doing it. You know what I mean? And so you have a collective here of, my mentor, me, and my mentee as well, right? My brothers. And so we have to build upon that, right? We have to continue to connect that process. It's about programming. You and I are talking about, right? A T-ball, right? So we can get the kids back in love with the game. And so, what I take from this is just the continued conversation of encouragement for our young people, especially our young men, and combined with the fact that, we got to teach them survival tactics. You know what I'm saying? What to do, what not to do. It's weird. I have this theory of a 2-strike theory, right? We've been born and told since we were young, we got 2 strikes. You know what I'm saying? If you know anything about baseball, that's hard. I mean, I got to get up to the plate. And
that strike, you can't miss that.
No, I got to foul some pitches off. I got to do some things, but at the same time, I recognize that those are the rules, right? And I'm gonna prepare myself. You know what I'm saying? So I can be able to approach that proverbial plate with the right mindset, right? And hit and get on or whatever. So it's just being able to continue, and then also to creating a resource base so we can connect young brothers. So meet Miguel, Darris, Hinson. He's a filmmaker. Filmmakers, brothers tough. Both of y'all. I've been meaning to connect y'all for a minute.
We met at the
right? Yeah. Brother Keon, and this is so this is what it's about.
I'm with
me being able to bring
the Darris Hinson today.
Him in, right? Connect him to safe sources that I know will be able to not only utilize his skill set, but also give him, give him some jewels for his head. So yeah, that's it. It's up to us.
Yeah.
So,
hey, brother, I appreciate
you, brother.
I didn't
They got to hear from you too, now.
Man,
hey,
Come on now.
for me, it was just being able to even be in this space, and to talk about these kind of things. I don't normally have these types of deep conversations, So I was telling Sister Rowe over here, with this whole opportunity to meet a network that I really didn't know existed until I saw each of you in that room that Saturday. And I was like, I got access to that? what can I do with
Awards.
what can I do with this? Even though I touched bases with one brother where I was sitting next to, I had talked to him about forming a basketball league in my last school district. And that was the first time I'd ever talked to him. And I look up and he's sitting right next to me. I'm like, but he knows you. And I'm like, how can we make all this work? So, and I told Sister Roy, I said, use me however you want. I'm here, I'm with you, and I'm ready to do some work and make some of these things and thoughts that we've been thinking about, make them happen, and I ain't the kind of person that like to be out front. I'm like, I don't care who get the glory behind it. It's just make it happen. And then I'm gonna teach you, and you gonna take it over. So my old buddy ain't got to worry about it.
So it's just amazing when I was having this conversation with the cat that moved here from Atlanta. I said, man, there's a lot of talent in Sacramento.
Oh yeah.
And I'm born and raised here, and I remember in the 70s watching my dad over here in these streets, fighting the system while being in law enforcement. And the talent level, it went away for a while. I think it went away because we died off, right? Crack. Yeah. We got locked up, and we got tired. And I watched my dad get tired. He died early. He died at 66, but I saw him get tired. And I was and that's when I was at the height of trying to do my thing. This cat and with this sister right here. And so I'm sitting there trying, Dad. He's like, Mike, the black man said, they ain't gonna listen to you. They're not gonna listen to you. I was like, come on, Dad. I mean, you taught us to be in this situation. You taught me to do this work, and now you're tired. And then he left us, early. But I do know that there's definitely hope when you got young people like this, and those of us here are guiding these young people. We just got to keep doing what we got to do. And I think I get energy from doing this kind of stuff, because I used to do a lot of this. Roe had me in 1996. I had my own television show in 96, and we were in the midst of it, when I was excited about it. And so I get energized. I shouldn't just get energized, but February, I just love February. Yeah. But, I think I need to, get with, we got black royalty right here. I just realized it was this. I just realized.
Let's hit you up.
And so, and Brother Keon, Keon always, Keon will call me, King, I need you, So I think that we need to really start. It's got to start with us. We can't wait for somebody else to do it. We got to start at wherever you're at is where it's got to start.
So we're gonna end this with. I just want to call this one word. Where you at right now? One word.
Tyre, Nichols, Keon Anderson. Gotta say their name.
Yeah, gotta say the name.
I'm present.
I'm gonna take Dion. I'm coming.
I'm focused.
Ready.
Open.
Thank you, brothers. I appreciate this. I look forward to next time.
Hey, shout out. Thank you, Sister Rowe.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
She's the engine.
Hey,
We appreciate you.
hey, she hate when I do this, but I remember when she.
Oh,
Yeah.